We do get affected by what happens in Ladakh or what happens in Nepal and what happens in Washington. And we don't talk about it.
When I said there's Sonam Wangchuk, I said there's no empowerment, there's no entitlement, there's no self-government.
We always thought that, it's so cold, nothing happens there. But now it's on fire.
And he says the Pakistanis could not kill him, but the Indian security forces had. That is the tragedy of Ladakh. Trying to impose a Hindu identity on people who belong to other faiths. We are relying on mountains, we are relying on rivers, we are relying on deserts to protect us. But we are not relying on the people to protect us.
And that is a very dangerous thing.
It's a very dangerous thing. Namaskar. I am Mani and this is my wife Suneet. We are today beginning a program called Mani Ki Baat Suneet Ke Sath. And I need to tell the audience that we have been married for 52 years. And before that, we knew each other for 16 years. So it can truly be said that our journey through life, we have been companions for 66 of our 80 years. In these circumstances, we thought it would be appropriate to have both of us on the same program, and we're calling it, as I said, Mani Ki Baat Suneet Ke Sath.
Also,
Yes.
I felt that why should news be confined to a formal studio? Why should there be anchor and participants? Why can't there be an informal talk about current affairs? We do get affected by what happens in Ladakh or what happens in Nepal and what happens in Washington. And we don't talk about it among ourselves as family members.
So, we are going to do a program where every episode will pick up one subject. And this time, Suneet and I have decided that the subject will be Ladakh.
Right. Now, what is happening in this cold desert? We always thought that, it's so cold, nothing happens there. But now it's on fire.
That's because I think the basic reason is that the way it's being handled lacks both tolerance as well as understanding. The whole story of India is heterogeneity, diversity, as the root of the Indian identity. But there are people who believe in uniformity, not in diversity, and therefore want to impose homogeneity over all of India. This is the argument that is being made by the head of the Buddhist Association in Ladakh, whose name is Tshering Dorje Lakruk. It is he who has made the point that I've just made.
So it's a cultural disconnect.
Completely. The fact is that on our frontiers, we are relying on mountains, we are relying on rivers, we are relying on deserts to protect us. But we are not relying on the people to protect us.
And that is a very dangerous thing.
It's a very dangerous thing. In the desert of India, in the Thar desert, there are large numbers of Muslims like the Manganiyars. In Punjab, we have the Sikhs. In Kashmir and Kargil, we have the Muslims. In Ladakh, we have the Buddhists. In Manipur, in the hill areas, we have the Nagas and the Kuki-Zo, and both of them are Christians. So if you want to impose Hindu values on them, you're not going to succeed. And the problem is that the idea of a single India and not a diverse India involves trying to impose a Hindu identity on people who belong to other faiths.
But what has suddenly lit fire among the young? What has angered them to such an extent that they've given up four lives and many are injured? Were they taken up or inspired or misled by what happened in Nepal and what they call Gen Z, or what happened earlier in Bangladesh and to some extent in Sri Lanka? Is that sort of domino effect that has come to Ladakh?
That is being trotted out from the center. The fact is that Ladakh has its own unique problems. And the single biggest problem is youth unemployment. When this issue was debated in the Lok Sabha on the 5th of August 2019, when Articles 370 and 35A were read down, on that occasion, the BJP MP from Ladakh, whose name was Jamya Chering Namgyal, he, in his speech, said that I welcome the separation of Ladakh from Jammu Kashmir, because if 1,000 jobs were advertised in Jammu Kashmir, we Ladakhis only got 10.
But even Sonam Wangchuk applauded what happened.
Indeed, because he thought that UT would give them empowerment, entitlement, and job creation. He thought it would give them self-government. But instead of that, he has become extremely disillusioned over the last 6 years because nothing has been given to them in terms of youth employment. Today, the percentage of unemployed youth in Ladakh at 26% is higher than the rest of the country. And since the figure I've given you is of 2 years ago, it's entirely possible that today 1 in 3 of the Ladakh youth, who are 97% literate and include a large share of graduates and and postgraduates, they can't get a job at all. With the result that when just recently, after the trouble started, they thought they could dampen the fire by seeking to recruit 534 clerks, there were 50,000 applications. And worst of all, the Agniveer scheme has come in the way of army employment, which was the biggest source of employment for Ladakhi youth. Because under the Agniveer scheme, for 4 years, they get a salary. But after that, they're thrown into society back in Ladakh without a job, without skills, without any opportunities. And all this has added up to a tremendous amount of frustration.
But this has not happened overnight. Sonam Wangchuk has been asking for the implementation of the 6th schedule. That has not happened. And also he has been talking about the very fragile and delicate ecology of the region. There's no scheme to protect it. Were these the issues that Sonam Wangchuk was able to communicate effectively to the young?
That's exactly what I was hinting at earlier when I said that Sonam Wangchuk had said there's no empowerment, there's no entitlement, there's no self-government. So Sonam Wangchuk has said that for genuine self-government, either make us a state, especially as you made Sikkim a state, whose population is almost the same as Ladakh. So there's no difficulty. But if you won't make us a state, at least make us a UT with a legislature, like Pondicherry, for instance. And give us 6th schedule protection. Because you've taken away the protection from outsiders that we had under Article 35A and to some extent Article 370. So give us 6th schedule status, which is what has been given to a large number of northeastern states like Nagaland and Mizoram and so forth,
Assam.
and even parts of Assam. So under these circumstances, he's asking for any of these. Instead of granting that, instead of talking about that, instead of forcing him to go on Gandhi-like fasts to press his demands, the centre won't talk to them. And when it does, it doesn't talk constructively.
But that is the pattern that the centre follows. It's now quite clear. They won't engage if there's a protest. And when it's no longer possible to ignore the protest, then they'll defame the personalities and the Andolankaris involved. Then they will harass them with raids and cancelling FCRA, the foreign contribution, and so on and so forth. And then people are sent off to jail. But in this case, people even died.
Indeed. And because people have died, the temperature has risen hugely. And instead of dealing with that matter, the LG and the the Director General of Police have described them as Ghuspaitiyas, has described them as Gaddar, has described them as Pakistaniyon ke saath षड्यंत्र रचा रहे हैं. And this about a people who have demonstrated their loyalty to India in blood. One of those who was shot dead. His father has said that my son was 3 months at the Kargil front. He was at Dartop, he was at Tololing. And he says the Pakistanis could not kill him, but the Indian security forces have. That is the tragedy of Ladakh.
And now somebody that we had learned to look up to, a person like Sonal Wangchuk, who dedicated himself to his people and to preserving the environment. And it's a very fragile state. The Himalayas are suffering, the glaciers are melting, and a state like Ladakh, which has a 1,600 kilometer border, that should be protected. And by protection, not only the people, but even the ecology, even the environment. And what is happening on that front?
Well, on that front, the example of what is happening is that they are putting down solar panels, but in the valley, where the few fertile acres that there are to be found. Sonam Wangchuk has said, why don't you go to the plateau on top? There we can't take our animals, we can't do agriculture, so put your solar panels there. But the fat cats who come in with these solar panels, they can't breathe when they go up. Their engineers can't breathe when they go up. They don't employ Ladakhis who would have no difficulty in climbing the mountains. And the result is that a model of development that is suitable for Gujarat is being imposed upon this ecologically fragile area. That is the problem. So Wangchuk says, please have a local model of development so that we have small and cottage industries. So we have local agriculture. So we can graze our animals who can find grass where the human eye can't see it. Where they have yaks whose leather and other products like milk can be used for various purposes.
So not only local is vocal or whatever that phrase
Local is global.
but local is beautiful, local is relevant, and local is much easier to implement. But worldwide governments only think of mega projects. So we are in that same mold. Nothing different here, I think.
I think that is the tragedy of Ladakh.
And of our planet to a large extent.
And of our planets.
So, how the other thing that is very worrisome is that with a 1,600 kilometer border with Pakistan and China, both not very friendly to say the least, the population in a border area must be a happy population, must be full of confidence that the larger country to which they belong, of which they are citizens, is with them 100%. Once that feeling is punctured, isn't that very dangerous?
I'm 100% in agree with you. I think Sonam Wangchuk would be very grateful to hear what you have said. You have accurately summed up what is the issue. It's a people-oriented issue. And unless people are taken into confidence, unless the development model is people-centric and connected to local resources, I'm afraid the kind of Viksit Bharat that is being talked of will not be realized in our sensitive border regions. And we have to carry, as you have underlined, we have to carry our border people with us. And that is not being done in a huge arc stretching from Rajasthan through Punjab, through Kashmir, through Kargil, through Ladakh, and into the northeast.
Most distressing and also frightening. But there seems to be no immediate solution on the horizon. Sonal Wangchuk has said now, from his lawyer has released his statement from jail, that he is not going to leave the jail. He is not interested in bail and getting out. He will sit there in a peaceful Gandhian manner until an independent judicial inquiry commission is appointed to look into the violence and the killings of 4 innocent people.
Now, in the central government, there needs to be a recognition that Mahatma Gandhi is not dead. There is a new Mahatma who has come into our border regions, and he should not be treated by an independent Indian government like the British treated Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Mahatma Gandhi. That is the wisdom that needs to dawn.
Well, it's very difficult to learn from history. I don't think many nations and many civilizations have ever learnt much from history, but that's the way we are.
Yeah. So, until the next episode, Namaskar, Jai Hind.